Hey guys, it's Austin, and today we're going to talk about this guy right here, the Alabama rig. So I'm going to go over the rigs I like, the components I like to use on them, where I like to throw them, and then I'm even going to show some organizational tips that I use to help manage these things because they can get stuck on everything on your boat. So let's get right into it. Alright, so you have two main types. You have a non-bladed version, such as this, and then you have a bladed version. The bladed version is much more popular, but I will start with the non-bladed version. So it's just wire. Usually have about 5 wires on it, and then you run swim baits or grubs, whatever you like. I normally throw swim baits. Certain states you can only run so many hooks. Here in Missouri, you can only have 3, so we run 3 hooks on the what would be the bottom of the rig, and then on the top we have 2 teaser dummies, and I'll go over how I rig those up in a little bit. So your other style A rig is just a bladed version. They've got willow leaf blades typically. They do have some with Colorado blades. You can get painted blades. You can get gold blades, such as this one. Has a little bit of mixture of gold and silver on there. You can get a variety of sizes. It all depends what you're trying to mimic. This is obviously mimicking a school of bait fish. So different lakes, such as Table Rock, you might want to downsize. They've got more threadfin shad, whereas like the Ozarks, you've got gizzard shad, which are quite a bit bigger. You might want to use a little bit bigger blade or bigger swim baits. All right, so when you're looking at A rigs, you're going to notice there is a substantial price variation in all of this. You can get an A rig that costs $5 to $6. You can get $12 to $13. You can get some in the $20, even $25 range for just the rig. And you're probably wondering, well, why is there such a difference, or what am I paying for? And the biggest thing of that is components. So you're obviously going to have your quality of wire, the grade of stainless steel. You're going to have swivels and the grade of your blades, and then you're also going to have usually locking snaps, such as that, and another swivel on the back. This is a Jenko rig. I think these are like $12 to $13 for a bladed one on Tackle Warehouse. This is the Seller Baits. This is like a kind of a more custom one. I believe the gentleman's out of Tennessee that makes these. Both very fine rigs. This one costs just a little bit more than the Jenko. This is generally what I like to buy, but I will go out and I have a few of the Seller Baits company, and they are nice. So it's kind of up to you to decide if you want to go with a more of a premium rig, or if you want to go with a little bit more value. For me, I choose usually the value, and I haven't had any issues. So the next thing I want to talk about is arguably the most important thing, which is your hook. I pretty much have 2 styles. I generally go with a weed guard style or just a traditional open hook, and then every once in a while I might throw a hook like this where you can Texas rig it and just really throw it through some nasty cover. But I tend to not use that too much because I really think it costs you fish with this Texas rig, because if a fish swipe at it or don't totally commit, it's a lot harder to hook them with a Texas rig swim bait. So if I know I'm going to be fishing around timber or brush piles, I'm pretty much always going to pick a style of hook like this with the weed guard. It's going to limit your snags and make your day a lot more enjoyable. Something I do want to talk about, though, that I think is really important is your hook diameter. So see how this has a little bit of flex in it? I can bend it. If I get this snagged, I can pull this hook out and bend this out and get my whole rig back. And all I got to do is change the hooks out or bend this back. Now, this is a custom head that we're working on designing right now, but this is a jewel Gem Shad, and these are really good heads too. And this one is, it has a little bit of flex in it. It's better than some, but it is quite a bit thicker in diameter, and you can't count on getting this out, especially if you're throwing fluorocarbon or monofilament. It's probably going to be a goner if these get snagged. So that's something to think about. Now, if I'm fishing in open water, you're just going to go with your traditional open style hook. I really like these twist locks. They hold on very, very nicely, although this style here is a little bit too big for my liking for the length of the hook shank. This is just another custom style. I typically throw a 1/8 ounce heads all the way around. I will sometimes go to a 1/4 ounce if it's deeper. I do know some people that throw 1/16 ounce, but I think you probably run into the issue unless you're getting custom heads where not many people are pouring a 16th ounce head on a 4 or 5/0 hook. So that's just something to think about. But also keep in mind your wire diameter on the open hooks if you want to go that route. I know some people, they don't even throw a weed guard style hook even if they're around brush or timber. They just switch to a light wire hook, and that way if they do get stuck, they know they can pull that out for sure. But I like to go with more of a medium style where I know it's not going to bend out on a fish, but I can get it out if it does get snagged. Alright, so next thing I want to talk about is swim baits. That's pretty much what I'm always going to throw on the A-Rig. I know some people throw grubs. I haven't tried it yet. I should probably branch out and try it sometime, but it's hard to get away from the old trusty swim baits. These are Kitex. You can throw whatever brand you want. There's a lot of other good brands out there these days, so you take your pick. But I will talk about the sizes here. So this is a 3.3, this is a little 2.8, this is a 3.3. This is normally what I'm going to run, either a 2.8 or a 3.3 for my dummies. They're going to be on top of the rig with no hook. And then I will sometimes run 3.3s on the hooked portions, but I tend to almost always end up with the 3.8. I think this is a really sweet spot. It's a good size for Table Rock. It's a good size for Lake the Ozarks. It's just an all-around good size that gets bit a lot, and you can catch big fish on it too. So I've got shad color, bluegill flash here. This is just like a green pumpkin. I think an AU color maybe. I keep it pretty simple on the colors. I don't branch out super far. I keep it natural or something with a little bit of contrast. If it's muddy, you can use white or like a blue truce, almost something with a little bit of chartreuse in it. And this is a 4.8 here. This is something I would throw more or less at Lake the Ozarks, or if I'm really hunting for a bigger kicker fish, you can up your swim baits to this. But like I said, I'm normally throwing a 3.8. Kitech makes a 4.3. I will sometimes throw that too at Lake the Ozarks, but the 3.8 seems to be the deal. Okay, so I want to go over how I just set up my A-Rig. So it's normally going to come in the package, similar to this, where it's condensed. Sometimes they even come like that. And you're first going to have to bend it out to get it to take the shape you want. So on the Jenkos, it only has 4 blades. So I put the blades on all of the outer arms here, and the center arm has no blade. Okay, so then I put my hooks on the bottom 3, and then I will take off the locking snap on the top 2, and I end up putting these on, which are Owner centering pins. So here's what the package looks like. It's made by Owner. You're going to want to get a size medium. It can go from a 2.8 to a 4.8. You don't have to worry about having different size springs. It's all you need. So these are super easy to put on. All you do is get it started on your little coil, and then you spin it down, and boom, it's in the ring, and that thing's not going to go anywhere. And then you hold it out. Here's a little swim bait. I'm going to poke it in the head, and all you do is twist this thing on, and it's not going anywhere. You can see how hard I'm tugging that thing, and it's not sliding off. So that's how I put on the dummies. That's a lot better than just using a snap and then going through the head, because you'd be doing that and they're flying off all day long and you're getting aggravated, and that's no fun. Another thing I want to talk about is your rod, your reel, and your line selection. As far as the rod goes, I like to use 7.6 to about a 7.11. It can be a medium heavy up to a heavy, or even like a mag heavy, but different rod manufacturers kind of rate it different. I would say if you get a rod that's rated up to like 2 ounces, you're more than enough for throwing the A-Rig. If you use too light of a rod, it's like lobbing a football, and it's just, you don't have as good of accuracy. It's just a little bit more tiring to throw during the day. We ended up buying the iRod Bama Rig Special. It's like a 7'10". It's, I guess, kind of made for A-rigging. It's a little bit more of a moderate blank, so it loads up deeper into the rod when you cast, and has a little bit more tip on it, and it's super nice to throw all day, and it's, it's sensitive. You don't need something like overly sensitive with the A-Rig, but it's just something that makes it a lot more fun to throw when you can throw it very far with little effort, especially on a windy day. If you're throwing this thing into the wind with the blades, there's a lot of drag going through the air, and that longer rod with the more moderate blank allows you to really load up on it and get it out there. So as far as the reel goes, you don't need anything special, just a bait cast. I prefer a Daiwa Tatula 100. This is an older model. These are just some of my favorite reels. I use a 6.3 to 1. You can use a 5.3 to 1. I'm sure there's somebody that uses a 7.3 or even higher, but I think the 6.3 is just a sweet spot, especially with the bladed A rigs. They have quite a bit of drag, and it just makes it a little bit easier to bring that through the water. So with the line, I use 65-pound braid. I know some people use like 50-pound braid. Some people use fluorocarbon or monofilament, usually 20 to 25-pound. There's a lot of people who swear that if they use mono or fluorocarbon that they get more bites. But the way I look at it is if a fish is going to come and hit this monstrosity right here in the water, all the wires and everything on it, I think the last thing they care about is your fishing line. But there are people who swear by that. And the last trip, actually, Nathan had a horrible backlash and had to end up spooling his reel with mono, like 20-pound, I think, and ended up catching the same amount of fish as me. So that's a debate for a different day. Now I want to get into the where and when I like to throw the A-rig. I think it really shows how good it is in the colder water, in the, from the 30s, upper 30s, into the low 50s. I'm usually looking for wind-blown banks, looking for channel swings, main lake points, secondary points, bluff ends. I've got a few videos about things like that, but you're just looking for areas that usually have good depth change with deep water nearby, because the A-rig's very versatile. You can throw it and catch suspended fish, over 50 feet of water where the fish are 10 to 15 feet deep, or you can go and throw this down a channel bank or on the edge of a point and let it sink all the way to the bottom, and then just reel it just above the bottom and catch the fish that are laying on the bottom as well. So it's a very versatile bait. With the windy conditions, I'm almost always going to go with the bladed version, just give it more flash and vibration. But if you get a day that's calm, doesn't have much wind, don't be afraid to throw it. You can try the bladed version. We've caught fish doing that before quite a few times, but the non-bladed version seems to work very well on days where you need a little bit more simplistic approach. And this is also something you can use if the water is just extremely clear. You can go with the non-bladed version. It has just less flash. Looks a little bit more natural to the fish in the clear water. Now, talking about water clarity, I'm usually going to look for semi-stained water with the A-rig. I think that is when it does the best. It does work in clear water, but I think something with, say, 2 foot or 2.5, 3 foot visibility is really, really good. I don't think it works that great in just super, super muddy water. We have caught fish in it before, but I prefer to look for something with a little bit of clarity at least. Last thing I want to talk about are just some quick organization tips. So I like to keep all of my A-rig stuff just in a Ziploc bag as far as components, extra rigs, things like that. That way if I hop in my buddy's boat or go with someone else, I can just grab that bag and I have all the components. I just keep my swimbait heads in just a little Plano box. It's nothing fancy. I have them separated between weedless heads and non-weedless heads. And then I want to show something that we use to keep the A-rig kind of contained while it's on the boat. So it's just a piece of plastic with a slit all the way down it, and we notch the ends of it. So you can slide this on the line of your rod, and then you have your rig here, and you just stick it in this tube and push it up, and then it's all contained. So that's how we keep them on the boat, and that's how I also keep them in my Ziploc bag here whenever I'm not using them. It just keeps it really, really nice and neat, and it's something simple and easy to make at home. So the last thing I want to show is somebody showed me this, and I thought it was a brilliant idea. So this is just a Lay's chip container, and I just poke some holes in it, keep moisture out of it if I put a different rig in it after I've used it. But this is something that you can keep your A-rig in, and you can have ones pre-made on the water, because there's nothing worse than when you're out there fishing during the day and you snag your A-rig, you lose it, you got to retie. Now you got to get this whole thing out. It's usually cold, and your fingers are cold by the time you're done putting it all together, and you're just not having fun. So if you take your little tube here, you can usually fit 2 or 3 pre-made ones and just stick them in there and put your lid on, and then you got a nice little A-rig container that you can toss in your boat or toss in your buddy's boat, and everything's made up. A little word of warning is with the Kitex especially, or any really heavily salted bait, if you keep it on your A-rig after it's been in the water especially, it will corrode horribly. So I hope this video helps. Even if you've been A-rigging for a long time, maybe you can take some of this and implement it into your own technique or the organization aspect of it. If you're new to A-rigging, I hope this steers you in the right direction so you can be more successful and catch more fish. And if you haven't been A-rigging, or if you're on the fence about doing it, I would really encourage you to go out and try it. You can catch a lot of fish. You have a great chance of catching the biggest fish of the year. There's hardly any boat traffic out there, and it's something that's a lot of fun, and who knows, it might even become your favorite technique. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned for some more videos.